WayofTime here, bringing to you another episode of EEPower. So as you can see, I'm currently cannibalizing this structure because frankly it's not working how it was supposed to be intended. So here's a little demonstration of one of the problems that occurred. As you can see, this lever is on this block, pretty much how this ME level emitter was activating it. So what it did was it powered the powered furnace so that it gave a redstone signal so that this should turn off. However, since this block was powered, it then turned off this one. So that's obviously not something we wanted to do, but there's another solution, and that is to power instead the things down here. Now, I don't believe they will transmit the redstone power upwards since it's not a solid block. However, there's an always active or an active without signal. If we turn all of these to an active without signal, then they will not be active when there is a signal. Pretty simple, isn't it? And then finally, one other change. Some people in the comment section offered a suggestion to make this less bulky by basically taking these and putting them on the bottom and noting that they won't extract when it's on the orange mode. However, they do extract properly when it's on the clear mode. I assume that the clear mode means every other slot compared to all of the slots. So that should work out. So all we need to do is reconfigure the level emitters so that they'll be correct. Let's take this off so that it can generate a nice healthy supply of glass and sand respectively. And then we'll maybe get some facades, then maybe get some use for all of this power. So now we're going to work on making the sodium persulfate. What I want to do is perhaps make some method so that I'll be able to make any sort of chemical that I need. So for instance, I want to make enough sodium and sodium persulfate and other things. Now the advantage of making the sodium cells is that I get aluminum and silicon and lithium at the exact same time. All it requires is a bunch of clay dust. Now, setting up an industrial electrolyzer so that you only want one item while receiving a bunch of others in turn is not really that efficient of a method to do things. Not like I have much of a choice though, so either I can have it running continuously or I can set it so that whenever I have all of this stuff, I'm going to deactivate you. However, level emitters do work, don't they? Obviously, they do work. So what you could do is perhaps set up some logic so that whenever any one of those parts is in short supply, you can then thus turn it back on. And that might be what we want to do, though setting it up for automation is a good idea to start off with. So anyways, I got a bunch of clay by adding a recipe to transmute one block, or rather one iron ingot, into 4 clay. It's in this thing right here. I'll be able to craft it, and I'm not getting enough clay via the other method to make it worthwhile for that. So what we're going to do is make the recipe for clay dust next. That obviously we're going to need to not compress, but we're going to need to rotary macerate our clay into 2 pieces of clay dust, which is kind of a tough bargain, you know. Not how I'd want it, but however, it's not like I have any other method to my madness. So let's encode this. Yep. And we're going to want to send this once again to the rotary macerator as one of the potential recipes. We only have coal and clay dust so far, so it's not likely to clog out anytime soon. That being said, we could have dedicated rotary macerators at a later point in time, or in fact dedicated row of rotary macerators. That might be a bit more kosher. However, I think this works as well. So now next part is just gonna put a spot for the next industrial electrolyzer. We're going to need to remove this. This seems done in fact, but we're gonna keep it ready for sphalerite at a later point in time. and let's see. We'll want to have 2 import buses, or rather 1 import bus. I always get those two mixed up. 1 import bus, 2 export buses, and we might as well use the crafting terminal over here. So 1 of these, and in fact I might as well throw everything under the bus and just craft everything in this window. So once these get crafted, we'll work on the next part. Okay, let's grab those. Yep, I kinda need the bus again. Thank you very much. Now, what I'm thinking is this. We're always going to want to have tin cells in the industrial electrolyzer. In fact, let's get the electrolyzer out of here. I pre-made 2 industrial electrolyzers and 2 centrifuges because I have a feeling we're going to need them. Anyways, we're always going to want tin cells. I think that's going to be an obvious assumption. So let's grab a few tin cells. And in fact, let's actually only grab 1 so that it can pull from that resource later. So let's put this industrial electrolyzer on. Good. And we're going to always want to have tin cells in here. So if we set this so that it is always active, and let's see, move single item / craft. I think that'll be sufficient. Not for the first part, but oh well. So let's put this down. So that's connected, and we should start getting all the empty cells in the cell slot. Now we need to input the stuff into the top. And also get the stuff out of the side. That's easy enough. And now we just need to set up a parameter for this. And is there any way to stop it? The only way to stop it is via a level emitter by having it go right here to just deactivate the export bus. That'll prevent clay dust going into there. However, that will still allow a lot of iterations for it to go through, which is a bit of a problem. However, if we disable the import bus, let's check the recipe for the sodium again so that we don't mess anything up. Okay, so yeah, it looks like the only option is to stop importing clay dust. Otherwise, these are going to take a while to back up, quote unquote. So let's go and import for now clay dust. It'll need to start working, and then it'll work. And let's for now put a lever here and set this to active without signal so that it'll be active only when the lever is not flipped. Okay, so do we have the given recipe in here? Move single, okay, move single / craft. So now we'll be able to craft the items, and they'll start going into here. There we go. Let's start electrolyzing and see what we have. We'll have sodium and a bunch of other things. We're going to need to take the sodium and combine it with sulfur to get sodium sulfide, which is an easy enough thing to do. So now we just need to get the sulfur. Sulfur cell is an easy enough thing to do, however. We just need to take the bountiful amount of sulfur we have and empty cells and put them into the system. Now, all we need to do for that, we can... Okay, here's our canning machine. Obviously, we have some cans in this, but let's do some experimentation with some more import buses. Or rather, import and export. Let's just make, for the future, 10 of those and 10 of those, so as we don't overcomplicate things. We should have all that we need for them. If not, I'll just add stuff in until they're done. Not meaning to throw anybody under the bus here. That was bad, and you should feel bad. Okay, so let's get our automatic canning machine and see what type of experimentation we can do to find out what works and what doesn't. So let's place this here and set this up so that it's out the side. What side do we want it to output? Let's first input and maybe rotate this, or just take it off so we can rotate it. And in fact, this is probably the best direction for it to go, and we'll probably output that side anyway. So we're we're going to want to import into here. And what do we want to import? Let's see what happens. Actually, let's see what happens if we import to an improper side, so to speak. Let's import some cans into here. And they import correctly. Does it stack to a single item? As in, does it stack to a max of 64? If it stacks to a max of 64, then this will be golden. Let's set this to... Okay, it does stack to a max of 64. That is perfect. That means we can remove this, and it's going to stay like that, and we can then put an expander. Not an expander, but we're going to want to create... you know what we should also create? We should create 10 interfaces. So we're going to need to wait for an interface before we can add these recipes. Of course, we're going to need to get sulfur so that we can add that in. In fact, let's get a bunch of sulfur. We already have that anyways, so it's not like it matters. Sulfur here. Okay. 1 stack of sulfur. Let's go put this in. Yep, we need to export as well. So let's export here. Going to have the interface there. Let's put that there. And for power, that really worked out well. That seems like a jumbled mess of mecha monstrosity. Monster side. Okay. I'm gonna have to import to the top anyway, so I might as well send this cable over here. Infinite loop for the win. Good thing it's not Minecraft jewels. So, now that that's there, we can put this here. Nothing will be set, but let's put one of those there. Sulfur. You has energy? Do you even have energy? That's a good question. That is a very good question. Does this even have energy currently in it? It should. It should have energy. Don't see any reason why it shouldn't. Let's see. Is there any way to test whether it has energy or not? I suppose we can test by just doing that. It's safe to assume that it has energy. However, it doesn't seem like this sulfur is the correct sulfur. Okay, let's check the uses of this particular sulfur and see if we can make this. Yes, we can. However, it might be sided. So we might not indeed be able to do that. However, if we do this, it doesn't even work. So it's safe to assume that this doesn't have any power because this might be taking all of the power, which is probably a safe assumption to make. So what we can do is make another transformer so that it can get a bit more power. So if we halt this, we can put another transformer so that, because this is limited to 128 EU per tick, we'll be able to get a bit more. So transformer, wrong transformer. Let's make that. Okay, with any luck, this should not explode. I say should because I have no idea if it will or not. Ah, fudge. Shift click. There we go. Now we'll have power. We can deactivate this portion of it. And now we should be able to take half of the power that is transmitted to that transformer. And all we need to do is... BAM! Okay, do you have power now? Huh. That is very odd. It's very odd. Odd. It's not making the sulfur cell, maybe because it's the incorrect sulfur. It's the correct sulfur, and I've got an empty cell. These are empty cells, aren't they not? So let's try this without all of this doodadery, and then see if that works, or if it just flops again. So take this off. We're going to need to place this here. Hey, wait, maybe it doesn't actually import power into the front. That's a possibility. So if we put this here, and wait for it, and put this here and this here, okay, so this does not accept any form of power. That's good to know. Would have been good to know beforehand. However, I suppose it's not like I can argue too much with the facts of me being adult and not realizing that before. Who would have thunk it? Okay, so we're going to need how many sides? This should be sufficient? No? How many sides do we have? Let's take this out of the way so that we'll be able to see what is open to the general public. Probably not too much. Okay, so if we put this here, power will go that side. Import cells here, export, and import. Okay, that will work. So we're going to need to power here. Good. Going to need to export. And thankfully that will be there also, so we can use that to our advantage. And I know. Hey, get over here. There we go. Not odd looking at all. No, no siree. Let's put this into here and this into here. And now it's all connected. Now all we need to do is import the cells to this side. So let's put it so that cells need to go on to here. We'll see what is required for this. Let's put cells here, thanks. There we go. Okay, good. Let's put that entire amount there. Good. Now we just need to put one sulfur and get one cell, assuming that this is actually working correctly. If it's not working correctly, that could be a bit of a problem. So sulfur, cell, encode, thank you, have a nice day, goodbye. Goodbye, 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 goodbye. Okay, so let's just run this through a bit of testing. Let's just take that. Good. This needs to be set so that it crafts and doesn't pick up the dregs. Always active and move and craft. Okay, good. So all we need to do is just throw this sulfur in and ask for one sulfur cell, if you please. In fact, let's go to see if it works. Good, it's working. And I think that's all we need to do with this setup. Pretty simple, isn't it? Okay, so now we got the sulfur part. We need to make the sodium sulfide, which is going to require a chemical reactor, which needs one sulfur and one sodium cell per. That's good. How much sodium do we have? 40. That's good. So we got the sodium, we got the sulfur. Let's make more sulfur cells, in fact. Might as well craft an entire stack for our usage. And see that we are making a good amount of headway. It might have already said, oh, look, you already put some stuff in. Herp, derp, derp, but it doesn't really matter. Okay. And let's see, the final thing we need is the magnetizer. Therefore, we got the chemical reactor. I'm finding this antimatter fabrication chamber quite entertaining in its usage, though I'd love to make a red power. Maybe I should make a red power autocrafter just for kicks and see how fast or otherwise it is. That being said, probably not worth it at this moment. It's not necessarily... Anyways, I'm probably making a complete idiot of myself, so I shall carry on for the good of science. So let's see, we're going to need to get our chemical reactor, and we're going to once again need to test a few things with it. Should be an easy enough thing to create, seeing as I got the advanced circuits there. Of course, it's going to just completely ignore me saying that it wants to make advanced circuits because it doesn't want to take the lovely, lovely gift that I gave it. But oh well, I guess them's the rules, And there we go. So chemical reactor again. And do we have the interfaces already created? We got 4 of them. I guess that counts for something. Didn't I create 10 of them? Ugh. I have no idea. I have no idea what this wants. Anyways, so the chemical reactor, we should check it has a max EU protect, or rather per packet of 32. So we're going to need to be mindful of that when we place it. I want all the chemical reactors to be in one location, however. Here? We could put 2 transformers here and have all the chemical reactors going in here. Slightly away from those guys, though. but that might be a small price to pay. I wonder. Mm, dang it, dang it, dang it, dang it. I hate decisions. I'm thinking for fun, I'll probably have it going like this, having all the cables on this side, and that might be a bit more efficient of doing this. We'll have to probably move this stuff. Actually, let's keep that little wall bit there so we have a defined boundary of where everything is. So let's put our very first chemical reactor that I've actually ever built there, and just need to power it up. Thankfully, it is. If you were scared, this is the low voltage line. You can probably put transformer upgrades on this. That's probably later Greg Tech stuff though, so it's probably no point. I'm gonna hide this stuff once we get a reasonable system going. However, I think this is good. So, let's set this up with ME interface and export. Good, and we're just going to need a cable there. Hello. And a cable there. Hello. And finally, we're going to need to set this up with some sodium and sulfur. Sodium first. And too bad we don't have any chlorine. That just makes salt, though. Do we have any chlorine? Chlorite. It's the same thing, and the uses of U, however, do we get to make salt with sodium? Salt with sodium? 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 There's actually no uses for chlorite? Well, there's probably going to be a use for it later. I already made that. Sulfur. Here we go. So sulfur. Just need to get that. And also, now that I think of it, we might as well get the next part ready as well. Let's get a cell. And let's get 2 of them, in fact. And compress 1 of them into here. And this compressor, if we actually get it, we'll make a compressed air cell. And we'll need this for the next part because we're probably going to need another chemical reactor. Let's in fact create that right now. And we're going to need the compressed air cell. There we go. Thank you very much. So let's react these together. Sulfur and the other one. Whatever it was. I was saying it so many times I actually forgot. Okay. Huh. That didn't actually export. That's interesting. Oh, derp. Ha. Might be a good thing if I actually connect that together. Though my currently crafting, it's not done. And if I were to alter the ME network in any given way, let's just set this up as one of the recipes while we're waiting it to finally not be sluggish and create. We might need the sulfur and sodium again. Yes, it was sodium. Durr. And sodium. There we go. I think that's enough. Okay, 1 of these and 1 of these make 2 of these. Assuming that we can... No, I don't think that goes in there. Assuming that we can get it to work, that's how it goes. And another thing we can make while we're at it is 1 of these makes 1 of these when we send it to the compressor. That will give us some compressed air cells, and then we'll be 1 step closer to victory. Or something like that. So which one is this? Compressed air cell? Good. And this one is this one. And let's give that back. Thank you. Let's check our chemical reactor. It's crafted, so we can finally alter the ME interface. Okay, there we go. And we'll be able to make the sulfide. Let's make the sulfide right now. In fact, we need to put those in. So let's make 2 of those. And it should send it over. Pickle. Pickle, pickle, pickle. This is a pickle. Obviously, it can only import into 1 face. The sulfur is not going anywhere until that happens. So we're going to need to work out entirely how this works. Obviously, probably in the sides, or in the back, or in the bottom. But in either case, we're going to still need to distribute the stuff. So there are a few options. We can probably use the Buildcraft diamond pipes, though that stuff doesn't guarantee an input. However, we can use red power, though that in turn may be removed. This is a pickle. I'm gonna think about this, then be right back. Oh, this could backfire, but it's an idea all the same. So let's test this out. What I'm thinking is that obviously the ME interface is kind of stupid sometimes. However, what would happen if we sent the sodium and sulfur to tesseracts and then have those tesseracts in turn send it to different points in the system? Like so, we're going to set this as a frequency of chemical composition. What are we going to call this? We are going to, what is this called anyways? Sulfide? Sodium sulfide. Okay, so set this as sodium sulfide. And we'll save this as frequency, not 10, but 11. No. Let's set to 20. Ah, fudge. 30. Is that okay? Is that okay? Thank you. Sodium sulfide. With any luck, this will be good. So save, set, and set this to sodium sulfide as well. Set frequency, receive only. And finally, this will need an ME interface. In fact, let's move this. That rained for a second. And let's put this here instead. Hello. There we go. And not go with that, but go with this. Sodium sulfide, set, and send. So my theory is this. Instead of putting this here, what we'll do is have it go into the item tesseract. This item tesseract will then try to put it into these different types of tesseracts. However, it'll probably have either a priority or an even distribution. That we're going to have to find out for ourselves. And this is only testing, so it's okay if it does completely fail. So what I'm thinking is that it'll send both the sodium and the sulfur to here, and then it'll try to put the sulfur into one slot. If it can't put it in that one, it'll put it in the other one. Kind of like advanced telepathic tubes. Though this could blow up at any given time. I'm not too sure if it's actually going to work. What I'm thinking that it's going to do, now that I think of it, is put sulfur in there, then sulfur in there. Or sodium. We'll just have to see. We still have to have at least one in there, but let's try that. Sulfur sulfide. Let's make 4 of you and check what happened. That's working. It's actually working. Now we need to stress test this because just having one of them working isn't enough for me. I want to see if every time we do this, it's going to work. So we need to craft sulfur sulfide, and we'll make a stack of it. It's working. It's working. Man, I can't believe it's working. I didn't expect it to work. I thought that it would somehow clog, but it seems like the tesseracts are smart enough, or the GregTech machine is smart enough, that when it imports stuff, it'll attempt to put it in a not full slot. That seems to work. Now we could try it without this tesseract. I might try that later on, but for now, in all intents and purposes, this does work. So we can probably put another chemical reactor here and have that work in a similar manner. However, that's going to be a general pain in the ass. What we could have done also is have it continually make sulfur cells and shove it in the bottom. That might actually be a better method to do things. I'm going to do something similar for the other portion of it. For instance, the final leg, actually, the potassium stuff. Let's see, we're going to need to get our potassium. It's not the potassium. Dang it, I am forgetting. Anyways, we're going to need to get the other chemical reactor. I thought oh, it's on craft only. Duh. There we go. Chemical reactor. We don't have any other tesseracts, so these are going to have to do. We'll set this so that it always gets the compressed air cells. So compress a few of them. We're going to want an entire stack, thank you very much. And then we'll want to send the final part, which is going to be the sulfur, sodium sulfide, or whatever the heck it's called. Okay. Still going. Okay, so let's put this down. We're going to need to move this down as well. So this, going to hopefully not fall. Get this down. And this will always want that, and it'll be free to craft it. Boop. Okay, and finally, we'll just need, not finally, however, let's set this. It'll void the craft that was there, but it's not too much of a bother. It shouldn't send it there. This won't send there. Hopefully this doesn't send there. If it does, it's an idiot, and we're going to need to move on. And finally, this is getting the stuff, and how many of these do we need? We're probably going to need many. So let's get all of our sodium sulfides that we have here. In fact, not all of them, because that's a bit too much. And let's just dump a bunch of them. Then we'll get the 5 cells that we need. And it's going to be a long, arduous process. So, fun fact, this takes a long time. So it actually takes 200 seconds to make 5 of these. So either we're going to have only 1 copper ore per 40 seconds, or probably the more realistic approach is if we were to want to refine copper in this method, we'd have to go via the route of just going full on probably 10 chemical reactors and trying to find a nice, interesting way to feed them all. Not too sure how that's going to work. We're probably going to need to toy with that, see if we can get some good design for that. I'm thinking just continuing this type of design, but that's going to take a lot of power. That's going to take a lot of stuff. In fact, I don't know how much it'll need, but let's see. We made our persulfate, so the only thing left to do is set this up so that we'll be able to start crafting it. And probably sending a lot of our sodium in. That's gonna take a bit of time. I know that for sure. So let's set this up. I don't want that. I want 2 of those. And then we'll get this. Once again, encode, send this off. And thankfully, we're not going to run out of quartz anytime soon. Or at least I hope not. And this is going to work out quite well. Let's set this for here. And then maybe just throw a lot of chemicals into here. I'm gonna leave this running. We might keep our copper reserves at tip-top shape. I'm in fact going to run our sodium going and continuously get it. I might make a special ME drive for just all of our chemicals and maybe shove that into an ME chest so that we'll be able to check all of that stuff anytime we were to see fit, just to see what our chemicals are looking like, because I'm sure this chemical engineering will pay out eventually. In fact, I'm pretty sure it will. Well, that's all the time we have for this episode of EEPower. If you like what you see, don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe to future episodes. WayofTime here, signing off. Have a wonderful day.